All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Teacher Lady Show. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Teacher Lady Speaks. I'm Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Now, we have made it to week number 50, and every single week we have a new topic. And this one right here, this topic is all about girl empowerment. We want to raise girls that are strong, that are confident, and that understand that they get to be whatever it is they decide to be, okay? And of course, we're using picture books to be able to do so. So rewinding back to Monday, we had 2 episodes of the Teacher Lady Reads over on the Teacher Lady Show. Those 2 read alouds, one was Strong Like a Girl. Now, Strong Like a Girl is written and illustrated by me, Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady. It's the story of Rosa and all of her adventures, so be sure to check that out. And we also had Why Not You by Sierra and Russell Wilson, talking all about confidence and speaking up and finding your voice, okay? So both of those read-alouds were available on Monday. On Wednesday, we had 2 behind the book reviews on these books where I let you know how do you use these books as a resource to raise children, girls, who feel more confident in themselves. And then today, on Friday, we are wrapping it all up. And my only goal with this channel, with this episode of the Teacher Lady Speaks, is to use my experience teaching tiny humans to help enhance your experience raising them. So on this episode, we'll have resources and best practices. I'll share what states are teaching in terms of curriculum on the topic and so much more. You ready? Let's grow. Defining the topic to a young girl. So if I was talking about girl empowerment, I would say something like, being a girl really is special. It's a superpower. Girls get to do whatever it is they want to do. They get to feel good about themselves. They get to create new life. They get to travel. They get to do just so many creative things. There is something really beautiful about being a girl. And I would ask them, what do you like about being a girl? What do you like about who you are, regardless of whether or not the child is non-binary or identifies as a girl? It is important to let that young one know how special they are because of who they are. And that should always be encouraged. And so I would just discuss femininity with my child. I would discuss the things that they like about themselves. And I think with young girls, it is just so important to make sure that we are pouring back into their self-esteem, because there are so many images and media that is trying to take away from that. So make sure that you're being intentional with teaching your child about their power as a girl, about how unique women are, how amazing they are, all the things that they've accomplished, and use those things as almost like a catalyst or a blueprint to encourage your child to be all that they can be, okay? Let's keep growing. Now, every single week we compare 2 states to figure out what is it that those states are teaching about the topic, okay? So we're looking at the state's curriculum. Now we compare the state of California to the state of Texas to figure out if there is anything in the classroom your child might be learning specifically on girl empowerment. And when I say girl empowerment throughout this episode, I mean like girls in strong self-esteem, strong confidence. I mean, girls in history and women in history, and just overall erasing the negative stereotypes or the things that put us in boxes that limit who we are and what we're able to do. So in the state of California, if there's anything, it will be found underneath the health education content standards and history social science framework. So in grades 3 to 5, health standards, students learn about self-worth, body image, respect for others, and identities. This kind of lays a foundation for gender equity and personal empowerment. And then under the history social science framework for grades 5 through 11. Now, at this point, children are going to start to learn major figures and movements related to women's rights, including the suffrage movement, representation and social justice and advocacy. So you get a little bit of that in history. And then underneath the social emotional competencies, you will see some things about confidence, goal setting, and emotional regulation. So overall, there is nothing specific, I would say, to like young girl empowerment, building strong self-esteem in young girls, and even boys understanding the power and the contributions of women. There are some that touches on like the women's suffrage movement and some of the things that women have done throughout history, but I would not say that there are a bunch of just units and focus in terms of the curriculum when it comes to girl empowerment. But you already know what that means. That means you're going to have to supplement by doing things like this and watching episodes like this to help you to be able to help them, okay? Now, in the state of Texas, under the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, there is nothing specific to girl empowerment. Now, I will say that for grades 3 to 6, there are some things that align or kind of, parallel to girl empowerment. There are some things on self-esteem, personal identity, communication, decision-making, and respecting yourself and others. So super general, nothing specific. I would say that Texas has less than California in terms of teaching about women's history, women's rights, things of that nature. But for me, both states come up short. They just do. Okay. Moving on to resources. Now, every single week, I tend to give you websites and kind of interactive websites that will help you learn more to be able to educate and support your child. But this week, I'm going to do things a little bit differently because I think so much of raising a strong girl is making sure that they have community. Okay. Girls need girlfriends. They need other girls their age. They need people who have the same interests and different interests. And so much of that really does help them to feel good about themselves. So what I'm going to do is I am going to teach you how to find local in-person groups because virtual is cool, but in person definitely kind of hits a bit different when it comes to building friendships. And so I'm going to share some ways for you to be able to find, how do I find those local groups? Okay. So the first way to find a group for your young girl is to start with your local library. The library is one of the most underrated places in the world. I absolutely love the library, but the library is not just for books. Libraries are truly this hub or this gathering place for so many local and community resources. So you're going to go to the local library. You're going to look at that bulletin board and see what classes have been posted. You're going to talk to different librarians that work there and say, hey, I have a girl, she's 9 years old, and I really want to get her involved in different groups and different things in the community. Do you have any recommendations or resources? You're going to get to know the people in the library. You're going to look around, you're going to read, and you're going to find things that can help you to have your daughter join a group. Okay, so that is one way that you're going to find those groups. Another way is at your school, find out if there is something called a PTA, a parent-teacher association. Now, parent-teacher associations are going to have other parents, and those parents, their kids go to your school, and a lot of times they will know things like girl clubs or local groups that support young girls or things of that nature. They are truly plugged in to local resources. Okay. So you joining that PTA not only gets you involved in a school community, which is super important because having a relationship with your child's teacher and with your child's school community just helps their overall educational experience. But in addition to that, it helps you build community and it helps you find things like girls groups for your young daughters. Now, the next way that we're going to find some of those groups are by using Google. We're going to use Google intentionally, though. So we're going to do things like search for groups for young girls of color in your city, whatever your city is, or girl empowerment programs in whatever your city is. This is going to pull some things up that might be in close proximity for you, some after school programs or some summer programs that they might be able to join. And then the next way that you might be able to find some groups for your young girl is meetup.com. Now, Meetup is going to have a bunch of different groups that individual people make. And then from there, when you go to that group, kind of similar to the PTA, you can ask about things that might benefit your daughter. So when you go to meetup.com, they might have moms of teen girls or moms of teen girls of colors like to knit or whatever things that cross-reference your family's identity. Because once you go there, once again, and you start communicating and you start networking, you will be able to learn more about how to help your child. And that is these things, yeah, because I'm talking specifically for girls, help them. But also, if you have a child that's autistic, use these same methods. Just change it from girls to, my child is autistic. If you have a young boy, or a boy that really likes art or dance or whatever it is that you're looking for, these kind of ways to go about it will really help you to find the community that you're searching for. And through this process, I even found some things for my daughter that I'm excited to check out. And then the last way that you're going to find some of those local groups to get your daughter involved in community is your local community center. So most cities have a local community center, okay? And those community centers usually offer a variety of after-school programs, summer programs. Sometimes they have free food programs or just different dance classes. They offer all sorts of things. They're usually a nonprofit. So when you're doing that Google search, look specifically for community centers, pull up at that community center, get to know those people, and ask about things specifically for young girls. Now, because I went through this process to be able to research the best ways to find programs for young girls for the purpose of this episode, I want to mention some places here in the San Francisco Bay Area that you might be interested in if you are local and you do have a little one. So the first one is called the Girl Brigade, okay? And girl is GRRRL. 3 R's and an L. So the Girl Brigade is an intensive dance and leadership development program hosted through Dance Mission Theater in San Francisco. It serves girls 9 to 18 years old and combines high-quality dance training with performance opportunities and deep self-empowerment work. Their mission centers joy, expression, and justice, using dance as a vehicle for confidence and community. So I love that one. They have been in the mission for as long as I can remember, and the Dance Mission Theater does amazing work. So definitely check out that resource. The next resource actually is virtual. And so wherever you are, you can definitely check this one out. And that's called Project Glimmer. Now, Project Glimmer's Empowerment Academy is a 6-week virtual leadership program for teenage girls through interactive sessions led by trained mentors. Girls build skills in financial literacy, public speaking, goal setting, and self-reflection. And this is a great option if your child is older or if you're trying to supplement because you can't find any in-person resources. Now, what I really love about this one as well, there is an application process. So your teenage girl is going to have to fill out an application process, which helps them just overall start doing things like that for jobs or for college. But if they are selected and they do participate in the program, they also get a $250 stipend. And in a world where we are being charged for everything, for the child to be able to make a little bit of money, I thought was really cool about also building community and connection. So if you have a teenage girl, be sure to check that one out. The next resource is called Oasis for Girls. Now, Oasis for Girls partners with girls and young women of color, ages 14 to 18, from under-resourced communities in San Francisco. Their programs focus on leadership development, academic success, and future planning, helping girls discover their dreams and build strong, suitable futures. That one is really special because there is so much emphasis on friendship. And I think one of the things that is missing when it comes to young girls and their self-esteem and just feeling good about themselves in general is that they do not have those friendships. They don't have those connections in the same way. And so we really want to be intentional about making sure that they are finding their group of people. Okay. Now, the next resource is called Bay Area Girls Club. So that's bayareagirlsclub.org. Network. Bay Area Girls Club has been serving girls ages 5 to 18 in West Contra Costa County for over 45 years. Their programs include summer camps, empowerment initiatives, and year-round support focused on education, emotional growth, and self-confidence. It's deeply rooted and community-centered, and it's just really good when it comes to children, girls, and their esteem, okay? And they actually just celebrated 50 years. So that is a major. And then the last local resource that I'm going to share for today, of course, if you know more, you already know, go to my website, scroll all the way to the bottom, give me your email address, and I always send out extra little goodies. But the last resource I'm going to share for now is called the Destiny Arts Center, and that's destinyarts.org. Now, Destiny Arts Center is one that I recently learned about, and I was honestly taken back by how amazing their programs are and how much they offer. So this is founded by a Black and queer dance martial artist. Destiny Arts uses movement-based arts like dance and martial arts to uplift youth voices. They offer programs specifically for girls at times, and they have self-expression, healing, leadership, and more around movement. So Destiny Arts, they might run a program specifically for girls, but also just in general, them offering martial arts classes, dance classes, different kinds of classes, different types of studying, and just mentorship, and just there's just so much there. There is so much there that I definitely encourage you to check it out. This was another website that I saw that you will not be turned away if you cannot afford a class, and I love that. It is so needed. Moving on to best practices. So the first best practice in raising a girl who feels sure about herself and confident in who she is to make sure you are doing girl-to-girl connection, okay? That's why I just gave you all of these places to look for. I gave you information on how to find local places in your area, because your daughter needs other friends who are girls. That is going to be a huge part of them feeling good about themselves, because when you put a bunch of girls around the same age together, and then you have a leader, you have a teacher, you have a mentor who is facilitating these groups and helping to manage these uncomfortable questions, it truly does help them feel good about who they are. The next best practice is to have reflective affirmations. So everyday super repetitive affirmations I tend to steer away from. And so what I like to do is have my daughter stand in a mirror and reflect on the things in that day that she feels good about pertaining to herself. So I really liked how I showed up as a friend today when Jessie needed a pencil and I had some extras, so I decided to let them borrow one, right? Being super specific about in that day how you showed up in the world, what you're proud of, truly does help to build up that young girl's self-esteem. And so definitely start the practice of self-reflection. And you can also do that for things that they want to work on. Okay. So this is how I handled this situation today, and I want to work on blank. Doing that while the child is looking in the mirror helps a lot with their overall growth and development. The next is to have these open and honest conversations around their insecurities pertaining to media and the beauty industry. Okay. Like, for children to understand that this is a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry designed to make you feel bad about yourself so that people can profit, will help them to know that, like, actually there isn't anything wrong with me. They're doing this on purpose. So there are companies that are purposely making me feel bad about the pimple that popped up on my face, or my weight, or my body, or my skin, or whatever, to sell me what they see as a solution. And having those conversations, especially when you have that child that's 11. I mean, my child is 7 and we're already talking about it, but 11, 12, 13, like, these are some really great times to have a conversation around how capitalism heavily influences some of the typical beauty standards and why they might be feeling icky about things that are completely normal, like getting a pimple as they go through hormone changes. Okay. Now, along those same lines, there are some documentaries. There was one that I saw in high school that was so good, and I cannot find it. I've done so much research, but I remember that documentary going into detail about how much is profited around young girls having poor or bad self-esteem. Like, they did a great job of bridging that line. And I remember it was the first time that I understood that some of my feelings about myself, not all of them, but some of them definitely came from media influences and feeling like what I had and who I was not enough. Now, although I wasn't able to find that exact documentary, there are two other ones that I would recommend you looking into. So the first is called America the Beautiful, and that's directed by Daryl Roberts. And that's going to be a deep dive into self-image in America, exploring child modeling, plastic surgery, and celebrity culture. This is really good for older children or even teens. And I will watch it together. All of these documentaries I will watch together and pause as questions arise. Okay. The next documentary you want to look into is called The Strength to Resist: Media's Impact on Women and Girls. Now, this is a 33-minute documentary on women images in advertising. It's going to feature girls as well as expert commentary in gender studies, psychology, and media literacy. And then the last one I'm going to recommend is called Self-Image, the Fantasy, the Reality. And this is part of the In the Mix series on PBS. Now, it is no longer located on PBS's website. You actually do have to order a DVD if you want to watch this one, and that's at castleworks.com. But why I really like this is there is a lot of interviews with teenagers to kind of get their perspective of things. And then it breaks down how that's connected to the beauty industry. And so for children who learn best by seeing other children go through or experience something or talk about something, that documentary is going to be very useful. The next best practice is social media images and awareness. I feel like today, when it comes to girls, there is so much of them kind of being bombarded with images of perfection, right? Like, if you scroll your teenage daughter's timeline or her For You page, is it a bunch of Kim Kardashians and Kylie Jenners and this makeup advertisement and that plastic surgery? Like, what does their timeline or their For You page look like? Because it really does become internalized. And if that is what you're constantly seeing as the standard of beauty, if you are constantly looking at these celebrities or these influencers and thinking they have the perfect life because of how they look, how their body is, how their face is, they're the most popular, they have the most money, they have the most success, it is going to damage that child's confidence before they even get a chance to fully develop it. So you should be monitoring your child's phone. I did a whole week on digital citizenship, but one of the things that's super important is that you're seeing what they're seeing so that you know how to combat it and so that you know how to change it. Because my next best practice is that their images should be reflecting, like, the images that they're seeing should be reflecting them. So, baby, if you have a young Black girl that's chubby, well, then her movies she's watching, the books she's reading, the things that, are popping up on her For You page, if she has one, should reflect that. There is so much beauty in seeing yourself represented, and it actually can change psychologically how you feel about who you are, because now I have a connection. I have somebody that I can relate to. Representation is such a huge and powerful tool in combating the self-esteem issues that young girls face, okay? And everything can be used for good or evil. The same fire that can cook you a beautiful Sunday dinner could also burn down a house. So how you utilize these tools is going to be extremely important. And then my last best practice right now is you and how you speak to your child, okay? Your words in so many ways become her inner voice. Like for some parents, they are their child's first bully. They are the reason that their confidence is so shaken. And so watching saying things like, oh, you're getting way too skinny. Oh, you're too fat. Oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, you need to eat something, put some meat on your bones. The criticism around young girls and their bodies has to stop. It just does. And if you're their parent, that comment holds even more weight and significance. And a lot of times parents will project their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own nervousness onto their child. So really, it's not even about your child's body. It's what you think the neighbors will think, or it's the fact that you've been yo-yo dieting forever and now you're projecting. Now, when it comes to a child and their health, that is completely different than you making comments on their body. And so if your child is overweight and the doctor is saying that they are too unhealthy, that their weight is too unhealthy or whatever, you don't need to be telling them that they're fat, they're big, they need to lose weight. Like, that's out of pocket. Instead, incorporate the things that you actually want to see in order to help them. You want them to eat more vegetables. You want them to eat more fruits. You want to walk more, have them move their body more. Like, those are the things you focus on, not how fat they are, not how skinny they are, not, oh, you got another pimple. Like, all of those comments, they truly do add up. I started dieting when I want to say 6 years old. Every time my mother went on a diet, I went on a diet. We were raw food eaters. We were in Weight Watchers. We were in Overeaters Anonymous and Food Addicts Anonymous, like this Anonymous, that. We were in everything. And that experience, those experiences of being in all of these different programs and on all of these different diets truly impacted my own relationship with food and my body by way of somebody else's issues. So be mindful. How you speak to your child, be mindful. What you do, be mindful. By the way, I know that those groups are anonymous, and my mother is very okay with me sharing that she's in all of these anonymouses. But it is just important that you watch what you say around your child and what you do around your child, because they are watching. They are learning and they are understanding who they are based on, in a lot of ways, how you see them. So see them with love, see them with care. When to seek help. I would say if your child is obsessed with their image, their look, they don't want to go anywhere, they're shutting down, they're having really, really kind of big emotional responses to their looks, it is time that they get some help and support. Now, for this topic, I would say a lot of that help is going to be just embedded in the best practices that I've already shared, getting them around other girls, getting them in programs around self-esteem and empowerment. That's going to help any girl. There is no young girl that is so confident that she cannot use community, that she cannot use additional support and help around life skills and navigating life as a girl. And a whole nother tier if it's a girl of color, and a whole nother tier if it's a queer girl or a non-binary person. And so that list kind of continues. And so for me, I would assume that they need help, and I would just make sure that they start to build community. Common questions. My daughter is 13 and is already wanting plastic surgery. What do I do? Baby, take that phone. Gimme, 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 gimme. The reason why your child likely wants plastic surgery is because she's been watching the same videos that's been popping up on my For You page about every surgeon in this country that can fix whatever problem they think that they have. Okay. And constantly seeing every single day another surgeon fix a nose, another surgeon fix a nose, another surgeon fix a nose. This is what a perfect nose is. This is what a perfect nose is. And her mind, her nose is getting bigger and bigger, bigger, uglier, uglier, uglier. And now I have to get surgery to fix my nose. The other thing about social media that is very, very tricky is as soon as it recognizes what your insecurity is, as soon as it recognizes what your curiosity is. I mean, you might have Googled a certain book one time and now your whole For You page is that book. As soon as it is able to identify the thing that you're going to spend money on one day, likely it is going to push it like crazy. So as soon as your child liked that video of that girl getting her nose fixed, getting it reconstructed, whatever, that is now embedded in the algorithm, and that is now what they're being served over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. So that is one of the ways to combat it. I will watch that phone, and you're going to hear me say that time and time again. Do they really need a phone? How are you curating their For You pages? If they do have a phone, do they need social media? Do they need an Instagram at 13 years old? Because trust me, they're getting those images. It doesn't matter that you put in there, oh, it's a child. Stuff slips through the cracks all the time. Okay. So we're going to combat that. We're also going to start to discuss the side of surgery that isn't as discussed. Like, you do understand that getting surgery means they're going to cut open your face. They're going to break bones. They're going to, whatever that technical process is. And you're more than welcome to pull up a video. Like, you should see the process that you're wanting to go through. And then from there, also bring it back to your family line. Baby, we all got this nose. This nose is gorgeous. In this country, this nose is the best thing ever. In this country, it's really, really beautiful to have extra weight on you. In this country, like, rebuild that up. Combat it. Don't let it be passive. Don't just be a place where they can come to you and say, I can't wait till I'm older and I can get my nose fixed. And then you just be like, you just move on. And you don't discuss it. You don't address it. We're going to address it. The next common question, what should I do when she starts comparing herself to others or feeling insecure? I would point out that comparison is the thief of joy. If you believe in God, you can put it on God that God designed everybody differently. If not, you can literally say, hey, we're all different. And there is so much beauty in being different. And okay, you like her hair, but what do you like about yourself? What do you like about your hair? What are some cool things that your hair can do? I would bring the attention back on your child as they're commenting these negative things about their body. Oh, I have to lose weight. I got to lose weight. Well, what does your body do? Your body carries you. It moves well. You use it to communicate. And I would just be combating that constantly. And the reason is that you are fighting against the inner voice that is telling your child that they are not enough. You're fighting against an industry, a country, and a society that is telling your child that they are not enough. That is the constant and consistent message that they're getting all day, every day. It's not just in social media. It's also at school. It's also on TV commercials, also on YouTube channels. It's also magazines. It's also newspapers, if that's even still a thing. It's everywhere. It's on the internet. It's pop-up ads. It is everywhere. So remind them of their beauty and remind them constantly, baby, the way that I hype my daughter up, I throw a whole party. And I just make her feel good about who she is. Like, she look cute. Like, okay, I see you, because it does. Think about it. You're walking through a grocery store and somebody is like, oh, I love that sweater. Where'd you get it? You feel good. Or my favorite compliment, oh, you smell so good. What you wearing? You just feel good. It feels good to be seen for the things that you like, for the things that you did on purpose, for the things that you tried to do, for your talents, for your goals. So combat it. They're insecure. Everybody has an insecurity or something that they're working on. Combat it. And then the last common question is, what are the best ways to encourage leadership and assertiveness in girls without them being labeled as bossy? Baby, they're going to be labeled as bossy. And then that other B word. That is what it is when it comes to girls. Every time you have a girl in leadership, every time you have a girl that is, asserting her power or making a decision or in some sort of high level position, they're going to be labeled. And instead of focusing on, well, how do I make my child more presentable so that they're not labeled or labeled as this thing, we're just going to focus on building them up so that when somebody tries to break them down, it does not work. because people are going to talk. Okay, so we're not going to let that stop us from doing the things we need to do. I am so glad that you have made it through this week's topic. I hope that you have watched all 49 weeks. This has been such a journey. We are almost to the end of our 4-year series, and this has just been really empowering for me as well. So I thank you for learning with me, for growing with me, for being part of this book loving community. If you do not know, which hopefully you do by now, I am an author and illustrator, and I ask you to check out all of my work. In addition to Strong Like a Girl, check out my other books. Go check out the Empathy Library, which is my pay it forward initiative to get books to children on purpose. So not just my books, but books of all types so that children can see themselves in books. So check out that program. Scroll my website for other resources. Subscribe to the channel, join in a newsletter, send it to a friend, leave a comment, do all of the things, because I really do hope that all of kind of the work and the insight that I'm doing finds the right people, finds the people who need it. Because parenting is hard and teaching ain't much easier. Okay. So thank you for learning with me and for growing with me. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.